What's up, geniuses? Welcome back to For the Record. I'm your host, Rob Markman. Now on Friday, Tyler, the Creator, dropped his new album, Igor. This is the first album after the last Grammy-nominated album, Flower Boy. You know, the Grinch was like a one-off. So we're going to talk about Igor this week. Y'all wasn't supposed to laugh, but here's my panel. You know, I got the D'usse Palooza boys with me.
You know we had to bring some energy, man. My fault, yo.
You know we can't be serious. Let's do these round of introductions real quick, man. First up, we have my man Kazeem, head of content at Stationhead, partner in D'usse Palooza, which is going down in New York City, 5/27. That's this Memorial Day weekend, right?
Yep, Memorial Day weekend.
YG headlining.
YG, Young Nudie, OG Chase B, Austin Mills, Chris Stylez hosting, Low Key hosting. It's gonna be, you know what it is.
It's a good time. Maybe I get an invite this time. Next up, we have my man from the Trappin Anonymous and also from D'usse Palooza, my man Chris Stylez. Man, what's up?
What's good, man? It's the legend, the king. I'm here. How y'all doing?
That's right. He wasting no time.
Yeah, let's get it.
And finally, the founder and CEO of D'usse Palooza, my man Cam. Man, what's good, bro?
Yes, sir. Good. Good to be here, man. Thank you for having us.
Nah, thank you for coming. I just want to put the disclaimer on is that we put this panel together before we heard
the album.
Tyler's album.
Yeah.
I wanted to have, I support the D'usse Palooza movement.
Yes,
I think it's dope how y'all grew from a house party to this worldwide tour.
Appreciate that, man. It's crazy.
And dope live acts. And I follow all y'all on social media and we're all friends and y'all takes just be some of the best things out there.
Yeah, I've been waiting to get on the table for a long time, man. Like I watch it as a fan, so like a lot of people on the show are friends of mine. So
Of
I'm gonna
course.
be like, we got our group chat too. So I've been wanting to throw on my shit, but happy to be here now.
Let's go. So we're gonna talk about this Igor, man. I just want to set it up because the first thing, when we started, this album was coming out Thursday midnight.
Yeah.
Tyler put a disclaimer on Twitter. He said, don't go into this expecting a rap album. Don't go into this expecting any album. Just go jump into it. And he said it's not like any of his previous ones, and you just got to enjoy the new experience. Now that we all listened to the first couple of listens of Igor, what do we think, man? What was the first thing that jumped out at you, Cass?
First thing that jumped out at me was that like there was no bars. Like I got through like the first like 5 records, and I was waiting for a bar, but like it's very melodic. You know what I mean? It's very musical. You could tell that he kind of got into his instrumentation bag a lot with this album. And I tweeted this earlier. It was kind of like it kind of reminds me of like Mac Miller's progression. You know what I'm saying? Where like he kind of came out very like immature, and like if you listen to like Bastard and Goblin and like his first albums, he's just kind of very all over the place. But you can kind of tell like he's starting to hone in to what his sound, like he feels like his sound should be. And I think that's what this album kind of represented. Like it wasn't so much about the lyrics and the bars and like him saying crazy shit. It was kind of more of him coming together as like a producer and like a guy who like composes songs, kind of like Mac was like towards towards his run.
Yeah, rest in peace, Mac Miller. It's funny because Tyler is actually a dope fucking rapper. Like, if you're just talking about bars, like Tyler could rap.
Yeah.
He said in a 2014 interview with Larry King that he actually hates rapping because it puts him in the box. This is a guy who always wanted to stretch the limits, right? And Chris, I know you're a rap guy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So your first impressions.
Real talk, I didn't even think he was on it. I was listening. I'm like, where's Tyler at? Like, I thought it was just like a collection of just like people like doing their thing, and he was just kind of like, the person putting it together, kind of like what like Kanye was doing when he was bringing like all these artists together on this one track, and then Kanye might have like one line on there, you know what I mean? But it'd be just great music, so you'd be like, all right, fuck it. But yeah, I didn't even really hear him, and I was just like, all right, where's that? Like you said. And he started rapping, and I was like, all right, cool. But I never was a Tyler, the Creator fan. He just always seemed like one of those people that had this cult following to me. Like, I can't name any songs.
Yonkers.
You know Yonkers?
You know Yonkers?
Eating the bug, I'm
when he was ripping the head off, biting the roaches and shit.
He's biting the roaches. He's talking right to the camera. We all saw that video.
Yeah, but like, besides that, and like I still don't.
Besides the nigga biting roaches,
I just remember him biting a roach, and I was like, "What the fuck?"
There was some,
and then he threw up.
There was some bars on Yonkers.
There was bars on there.
Come on, man. Yeah. I feel you though. Like, you know what I'm saying? And you represent, and what Chris represents a very specific type of rap fan as well, with the things that you look for and the things that you value. And so I think that POV is super important. Cam, we talked about. It's funny because Chris does make a point. Like, it's hard to hear him. He distorts his voice. Actually, there's a lot of features on this album. I mean, Kanye's on this album, Lil Uzi Vert, Pharrell, Playboy Cardi, Solange is on this album.
Yo, why
Sandy
are
Gold,
artists
Kali
is
Uchis.
doing that now? Like you
Where
see
they just hide the guest verses.
the-
I like that though. I like that because it forces you to listen through. You know what I'm saying? Like I know me as a lazy listener sometimes.
You
Like
just go straight to the
I'll be like,
features.
oh, featuring who? Go right to the
Because
song.
I don't think he did it for that. You know what I'm saying? Like it really felt like with Igor to me is that there was a story, there was a specific storyline that he wanted to tell, and if you skip to the joint that has Kanye West on it,
it's not gonna make sense.
you're gonna miss
flow.
it.
It's gonna be incohesive.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like looking for like the like it might be somebody on the track that you don't know.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And you're like,
yeah.
yo, who is that? Like this is fire.
I
And
ain't
you don't
gonna
really get
hold you. Like the first record I heard, I think of the first feature. It sounded like XXX.
Right.
But I think was it Cardi or was it Uzi? I think it was Uzi.
Uzi's on the first song.
Yeah,
Uzi's on
it was Uzi.
Eagle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now when that album plays, like, and that's kind of why that's the reason why I really enjoyed it because it shows a lot of growth with Tyler. You know what I mean? Like, when you first heard him, like you first heard like Bastard or like even like Flower Boy. You know what I'm saying? Like it was still a lot of like angsty shit, and like now he's almost 30 now. He's like 28, 29 years old. Like,
which is weird. It's like, yo, Tyler done grew up.
He grew up. You know what I'm saying? And like you could hear him talking through shit, like kind of like aware of those like angsty feelings that he used to rap about. But he's still growing and maturing and like learning how to like process those feelings and stuff like that. So I enjoyed it.
It's funny to me, right? Because I think like if you listen to Ego on the storyline, it's all about. The short of it is about rejection, right?
Yeah, it's a love story.
It's a guy that he's in love with who they had something going on, but the guy there's also a girl in the picture, and the guy don't want to get rid of the girl and live his truth. And so in the beginning, it's like Tyler dealing with this rejection.
Yeah.
And then he gets all the way to the end. He's like, well, fuck it. If you don't want me,
are we still
what can I do? Let's at least be friends.
Yeah.
Which that to me, like, especially if you listen to his early work, a lot of the early stuff had to do with rejection. He just dealt with it a different way, whether it was rejection from his pops.
He dealt it immaturely.
Yeah.
He dealt with it immaturely.
Or rejection from two dope boys. And,
and we still can't play them songs around Mecca, bro. I'm like, we'll wait until it's done, bro.
But so a lot of his stuff like deals with rejection, I feel like, or him rebelling against the rejection and standing defiant.
Yeah.
And this one is just him, like, very maturely, like, because, I mean, he ain't really, on Magic Wand, he kind of threatens to kill the girl, but not really. He was just like, oh, I got something that's going to make her disappear.
Yeah.
I got this new Magic Wand, but he ain't gun her down. I feel like the whole time might have been like, yo, I'm gonna shoot her up, and we going to be together. Or, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It kind of feels like I feel like he dealt with this rejection differently because, like, when it comes to, like, love and, like, loving somebody, especially, like, I guess if, you're in a complicated relationship with another man who has a girlfriend and like he doesn't want to deal with that. Like, you can't just like bulldoze your way through it. Like if two dope boys don't fuck with you, you could say fuck two dope boys until, whatever. If, record labels don't fuck with you or whatever, there's certain things you can do to get through that to, especially as a young guy, until you get to, your desired destination. But I guess when it comes to like love and especially like that sort of like complicated sort of love, like you just kind of got to eat it. You know what I mean? Like you can't really just be like, well, I'm gonna kill this bitch and fuck them and everybody chant this at the next song and like doing all that like young and mature shit. Like now it's just like, and it doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter if it's with a guy or girl, whatever. If you're in love with somebody and that person can't love you back the way you wanted to, you just kind of feel stuck.
Yeah, universal thing.
And I mean, as like crazy as like some of the shit is that he says, I think like we can all at this table identify with the feelings, right?
Yeah.
So like his growth in this album, like we've all been there, right? We've all like hated an ex. We've all like wanted to be with somebody that we couldn't be with. And I think for him, like just the ability to speak to it and through it in this album, different than he's done in past albums. I think you see a lot of growth with it. Like for me personally, I had zero expectation of this album.
Right.
And then listening to it and kind of like going through it again, like there was some shit he was saying that, granted, I'm not in love with a man, but I could identify with, like just like shit he was going through, and just like you said, the angst, but the ability to speak through the angst and the maturity to like recognize not only the position that he's in, but the position that the other person is in as well.
Yeah.
I think that just spoke a lot to like his growth.
It's interesting because I had to listen to the album because the first thing that cuts through to you is that it's a love story.
Yeah.
In some sense, I had to listen to the album a couple of times to figure out where he was talking about a man or a woman, or because the first thing that strikes out at you before
It's very vague.
the sexuality is the love.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like as just a human being, you're like, okay, I can relate to this.
Yep.
You know,
It's
but
like how Frank Ocean came out, right?
Right.
Yeah. Frank was a little more. I feel like Frank was a little bit more like out there when he came out.
But like the Thinking About You record, we all thought it was like about a woman. Y'all knew it was about a man?
nah, I didn't know. I didn't know until
You didn't know?
I
I
didn't
didn't
know
know.
until he wrote that letter on Tumblr.
Until that letter joint.
What was the song? Forrest Gump?
I mean,
Forrest Gump was
But
about
Thinking About You
on the
came
album.
first. Yeah.
Oh,
that
okay,
came
yeah,
up on the
right,
album,
right,
and
right.
He kind of put out this record, and you was just like, this shit is fire. You
Yeah.
just assume
Yeah.
that he's talking about a woman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's like, nah, I'm talking
Which
about
is fine. I
a
mean,
guy,
like,
and-
love who you love, but
100%.
like
Yeah.
that's the beauty of like musicians. Like they could speak to their own personal shit, but like everybody can relate to it in some way, shape, or form.
We
And I think he did
social,
a great job
almost
of
like
it.
socially, we weren't in that place where people was just like super accepting, like back then.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean,
I feel like
So
now,
so where are we now?
I feel like now we're entering more of a place of like inclusion where people is where it's whack to be like, oh, I hate,
yeah,
the gays and all of this and the
yeah.
third. Like you're corny if you're saying some
Yeah,
shit like
yeah.
that. Like before, it was like you're cool if you hate other people that are different from you.
I mean,
Yeah,
shit,
right.
listen
Being
to old
closed-minded
Tyler
was cool.
records.
Yeah,
Old Tyler
Being
records, he would make
closed-minded
fun
was
of gay people.
Right, 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 right.
You know
He
what
said he
I'm
knew
saying?
Frank Ocean was gay. 'Cause
Yeah.
he was like
He
Pop
said-
Tarts without the frosting. But like at the end of the day, it's like now we're just like in a more of a space where it's just like, yo, like it's dope to like include everybody. It's dope to,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, express that this is how I am.
Mm.
And it may not be accepting of what this person thinks,
Right, right,
but
right.
like, you know what, so what? Like it's still fire, you know? what I mean?
It's dope. It speaks, I think, to the growth of hip hop, and also how really our future has kind of pushed the envelope and forced, maybe forced is the wrong word, forced and invited
Yeah.
hip hop to be like, yo, in our generation, we got to think about this whole thing
Yeah.
Hell
differently than we
yeah.
have, because we really
Hell
been kind of trapped in the box on the way
Yeah.
of thinking.
Yeah.
So it's been dope to see the growth. There are some bars though, right? Like I thought What's Good.
Yes.
That
was one of my
He
favorite
came
records on
off.
that.
Did you catch? Kaz also has a show on Revolt
Yeah,
dealing
Kaz-
with
Kaz got
sports.
mad
Yeah,
shows.
sports.
The Sam,
Yeah,
the Sam
he
Bowie
got
line.
shows.
I got a lot of shows, guys. I got a lot of shows.
I know
Catch
you
them
caught
all.
the Sam Bowie line, man. I don't
Cause
get
and effect.
anxiety to use Sam Bowie ass. I just get my mic on.
I was
Like,
with my mic on. I like that record. Yo, for a guy, so like here's the thing with Tyler, right? He swears that he doesn't like sports, but like every album he drops a fire ass like sports reference. I'm like, yo, for a dude who don't really watch sports or like catch up on any of that,
Right.
he's always good for one. And
Right.
that was one of the good ones. I call him that too.
Yeah.
I fucked with it.
I think a lot of people forget that Michael Jordan wasn't the number one pick.
Nah,
number
with number
three.
three.
Yeah,
Number three, yeah.
Jay had the one line, but that was at this point damn near 20 years ago.
Yeah.
With the third pick, I made the earth sick.
I
You
mean,
know what I'm
shit,
saying?
for fucking, for people who, who grew up in this era, Michael Jordan's just a meme to them.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
he's the guy with the
Crying
ugly jeans and the crying face and the shoes at this point. So people, you gotta remind them sometimes.
And the hangovers.
Yeah, and the hangover, the hangover game.
And it's dope. As much as this album is about the relationship and it tells this story, you get glimpses into his life. So, What's Good, I think, kind of still shows that Tyler could rap.
yeah,
And
have to
hasn't
make
forgotten.
fun records too.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, but also tells about his life, about the car crash that he got into. It was a pretty, could have been deadly, right? They said that the car that he hit was launched like
I didn't even know
500
that.
feet forward. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
He
crazy.
talked about it a little bit on maybe it was Instagram stories or Snapchat. But for him to talk about that car crash couldn't take me, green-haired angels all around me, kind of really speaks to one, it's a reference to his Golf Wang
Yeah.
clothing line with the green-haired angels and that car crash. Like, according to Tyler, like on social media, he has said that he stayed in the studio late. He just had a late session. Usually he's like, I'm pretty washed. I'm in bed pretty early. Stayed in the studio late, fell asleep at the wheel, and got into this car accident
Wow.
that he was able to walk away from.
Wow.
Then he thanked Elon Musk for all of the airbags.
Protection.
No, I mean, like, it's crazy
It's
though,
dope.
because it's like, with a guy like him, and you talk about the green-haired angels all around you, like, you forget, like, we're all a little bit older now, but like I think we all remember like when Tyler first kind of came in the game, and he was just kind of like this counterculture type of dude, and you know, like now he's almost looked at like I don't want to say OG status, but he's got a lot of sons, he's got a lot of kids who've like kind of followed his blueprint and kind of followed his lead as far as like creating this like cultish following that he's had. So like the green haired angels all around him. I know that's like metaphorical, but like, you know, God forbid, like we just lost Nipsey, you know what I'm saying? And it's like if something would have happened to him too, you know what I'm saying? Like it's crazy how much you know, we'd have to kind of look back in the past tense and see how much he's already accomplished to see, you know, just how much of a huge figure he is, not just in hip hop, but in music in general, and you know, entrepreneurship and you know, creating clothing lines and TV shows,
festivals,
like so much shit, you know.
And that's why you got to respect him, because he always did it on his terms, right? I kind of look at this album, this IGOR album, and when Cherry Bomb dropped, I didn't quite understand it, right?
Yeah.
Because, you know, outside of certain joints, Smuck is crazy. Like, but the mix really bothered me, and I didn't understand.
It was a harsh listen.
The distortion in it. I knew it was purposeful, and I knew he did it on purpose, but I didn't quite understand the distortion. And then Flower Boy, which was dope and almost very much in contrast to that, Bright, I felt like I heard so much of Pharrell's influence in it. You know, I was like, okay, well, where's Tyler at? And then this album, to me, this IGOR album kind of feels like the perfect kind of blend of both of them. The distortion is still there because vocally, you can't necessarily tell it's him or you know, it's not his pronounced voice that we're used to, but he blends it in such a way.
I'm not gonna hold you. The first record, Igor's theme, when they started with the distortion, I'm like, not this shit again. I was like, oh man, but
like I was telling them earlier that to me, again, going into this album with no expectation, like this feels like a Pharrell album to me. Like when you get into maybe like track 3, track 4, and like we said, we didn't hear a bar until like track 7. It felt like In My Mind to me. You know what I'm saying? Like it started off like Jesus, but then it went into very much like, you know, In My Mind. And I feel like, you know, he always speaks about, you know, Pharrell's influence on him and how he's been a follower of Pharrell, you know, and how he's just such a huge fan. And I feel like it's really dope that you can hear it in his maturation of this project, that you know, you can hear the Pharrell influence, and then, like you said, Pharrell comes on at the end, and yeah, I like it sonically. I think
that was dope. That was a dope moment for me. Are We Still Friends? Like the last joint, like when Pharrell kind of comes in, it just felt like a full circle.
It feels full
moment,
circle.
You know what I'm saying?
Because I remember he was talking about him, and I think like Ferg was talking about the anniversary of I want to say the first NERD album that came out a few weeks ago. That was a few weeks. In Search of, my fault. And he was just talking. I remember that exact time when that album dropped. Like, you know, I'm like, I grew up in Staten Island. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wasn't around too much. I could only relate to like 50 and like gangster rap so much. You know what I'm saying? Like, but like when In Search of dropped, you kind of felt spoken to for the first time in a while, and like you could tell Tyler and like guys like him kind of took that you know, that they took that, you know what I mean?
Well,
like,
Pharrell stretched the boundary too, because at that time Pharrell was the go-to rap producer. That's what you needed for your rap hit. Whether you were Jay-Z, whether you were Ludacris, whether you were Nelly, whether you were Nori. And he said, "Nah, I'm gonna do this rock album because my bunch is an eclectic bunch. We love hip hop, but we love music and to express ourselves." So I think it becomes the predecessor up for a lot of things that we hear today. And that's why Are We Still Friends? It kind of felt like for a while it was like, you know, Pharrell and Tyler, the master and the student. And it really felt like the student caught up to the master by the time Are We Still Friends happens. And now I'm listening to two equals on the same plane, which was kind of like a dope full, and it's fitting that it was the last song on the album.
I say all that to say, you know, the same way Tyler looked at Pharrell, there's a whole generation of kids that's probably looking at Tyler now that is like, man, like I didn't feel spoken to until like these albums drop. You know what I'm saying?
Look at what Billie Eilish is doing right now. Like she's already a huge star, and I think it's only gonna grow, and you could definitely see the future influence in that. Another album, because a lot of albums,
a lot of music this
came out this week. It was a
good New Music Friday.
It's been
Megan Thee Stallion dropped her album.
Yeah.
Currency and Static dropped an album. And this guy, this DJ Khaled guy,
I heard of him.
dropped his album Father of Asahd. Also had a lot of people talking this weekend, man. What do we think about Father of Asahd?
I thought it was fantastic. I think
Something I could talk about.
when people was no, when he was too quiet, I'm like, you know what he doing.
Mhm.
You know what he doing. Because if you know Khaled, he's a master of promotion. He's a master of getting on everybody's, press run. I'm sure he's
Yeah.
gonna be here in a few hours. Like
Yeah.
you make sure he hits the press like hard. So when I seen him booked for SNL, but I didn't see no singles, I didn't see no videos yet, I didn't see nothing. I'm like, he got something to tuck. And like when it dropped, man, like the first record with Buju Banton, and like it was a beautiful sunny day in
Big
New York.
record, boy.
As soon as it hit, I was like, oh man, this is gonna own the summer.
I think
bro.
honestly, like I think that that Nip record would have been the single. I think
Yeah.
that he
Well,
probably would have put.
he shot the video for it.
he
Yeah.
He would have
Yeah.
definitely put that joint out if unfortunately
If
Nip didn't pass.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? But it would have been too weird. You know what I mean? If like
It still
Nip
feels
passed
weird.
and then that record came out,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and then you hear like what he's saying on that record is just like
It did remind me, and I've been refraining from the Nipsey Hussle Tupac
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
comparisons.
what
But
about the Jesus one?
yeah,
Yeah. JD said it a while ago. It was like, yo,
Yeah.
he might have been Jesus, bro.
Yeah.
Like there was way
Yeah.
too many.
yeah.
There was a lot of parallels there, you
but-
know. But
It kind of felt when Pac died, we seen visuals like I Ain't Mad that shit came out
Yep.
after he died.
Yep.
We've heard verses like on
Hail Mary.
Scarface's Smile,
Yeah,
Hail Mary,
Machiavelli.
Smile
that
joint.
came up after
That video
was
he
creepy.
died, and I think what it speaks to is a place that Nipsey was in. Like he really was about to be at, like the way he was just speaking on
Yeah.
things and
Yeah.
speaking on his life and being able to reflect and get you to relate to his life.
it's still surreal, man.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah,
still
bro.
surreal to this day. Like
Yeah.
you seen the video and like he looks like, I'm like,
Or he looks like an
it's so-
angel in the video.
bro, it looks so good. I'm like, yo, is this just really
Right.
good CGI or something?
Nah.
I'm like, nah.
I think
the
he
way
was
it
he was really at his peak, and
man,
and
dog, that's what makes it hurt so much more.
And I was gonna
bro.
say, like Pac, like Big, like we feel like robbed. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
you see a brother that was doing things the right way and like was really on the cusp of greatness. And I feel like with us, too many times, that's the story. Like we don't get to see somebody realize the actual greatness, and that's why Nip hurts so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And shout out to Eve Rivera, because I texted Eve this weekend and who directed the video for Hire,
Mhm.
and said that he had a tremendous responsibility with that video
Yeah.
because technically the last image we seen of Nipsey, unfortunately, was the leaked footage
Yep.
Mhm.
of what happened
Of
in
what
his
happened
last
to him.
moments.
Yeah.
And that was a disgusting image that just spread across the internet. And,
Yeah.
and I think Eve and Khaled and their whole team gave the world and Nipsey fans the image
Yeah.
that they deserve.
Yeah.
The guard
Shout out to Lenny,
image.
yes, too,
Yeah,
man.
shout out to
Like,
Lenny.
That photo of him in the all blue.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, it's
Amazing.
just, oof.
What else did we like about this album? Just Us with SZA. Has the Outkast Miss Jackson sample. It leaves a timeline divided.
Yes, I was
Um,
about to say, like,
Yo, didn't Khaled speak on that too when he was
Yeah.
saying that like when you get the blessing from Outkast, like that it's a
Well,
go?
Punch who from TDE,
Yeah, Punch
president
tweeted it,
of
yeah.
TDE and directly, involved with SZA's career, said, the purist in me, I told Khaled, the purist in me is a little, bothered or shaken by this Outkast
Uh-huh.
sample, and Khaled told him supposedly that, listen, the
If
purist
Outkast
thing is when
clears it.
Outkast gives you the blessing. We the
Yeah.
purists.
which is the most Khaled thing to say.
We the purists. What do you think? Some people are like, oh my God, it sounds too close to the original. That's an untouchable record.
Yeah,
And some people love it. For me, I'm just like,
I'm kind of.
Why is a record untouchable?
we're 40 years into this hip hop thing.
Like,
No record is
Why
untouchable.
is a record
Thank you.
untouchable?
No
Thank
record is
you.
untouchable.
Thank you.
None.
I'm on the cusp of both though, because it's like I can understand where people are coming from, but at the same time, it's like, man, if we can't be big enough to acknowledge our classics to remake it, like the fact that people make us think about it is good enough to let me know, okay,
Right.
hip hop's in a good place, because enough people feel a way about this record for them to feel so strongly about
Yep.
why it should be sampled.
But
But
then there's a whole generation that don't know what the fuck you
That's
talking
what I'm
about.
saying.
There's a whole generation.
Yeah.
That record is almost 20 years ago. Like,
Don't
Yeah.
know.
you starting to sound like your parents.
Yeah.
When Biggie did Big Pop, and you was like the Osleys.
Exactly, bro.
He can't touch the Osleys.
My mother hates Puffy to this day.
or can't hold me down.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
yeah.
Or
Yeah.
something like that. So I'm so not of the mindset that something is beyond being
No,
sampled.
never that.
No, I feel like that
Never
speaks
that.
to the original greatness of the record too.
Of course.
Like,
And I don't think they can be mad at the residuals.
No.
What else did we like about this album?
Nas,
Nas, okay.
Nas,
CeeLo.
like
Nas and CeeLo, right?
I wish that we could get like an album of Nas like with Khaled songs. Because every time Nas and Khaled make a record, it's the Nas I want to hear.
Yeah.
And like from the beat,
Not
to the beat making to
like
the
the
production.
Kanye album, no?
I forgot about
I
that
just asked the
album.
question.
Yeah, that joint came and went.
I ain't gonna hold you.
I listened to that album one time.
Okay.
But
Yeah, it's
but
over.
I just feel like, you know, when he gets together, because the production is right, he always gets a good hook. And like even like Nas' album is done. Like that had us hyped for Nas' album.
Right.
And then he dropped that shit with Kanye. But nah, I love the Nas record. We was just talking about Freaking You, the flip of the Jodeci sample with Wayne and Gunna.
You
I
like
just
that? You was into that?
You
that's
ain't
a
like
record.
that?
I felt like that was my one. I felt like it was so much of the sample.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I'll say this too.
and I don't
That's
feel
what makes
like
it fun, though.
I don't feel like it
Yeah.
couldn't be sampled.
Would you
I'm
have
not
liked
saying
it
that.
more if it was Drake instead of Lil Wayne?
Drake, Lil Wayne had that line on the album too.
No, as soon as he said that, I was like,
I get it.
This would be a much better record if Drake was on it.
I don't think because Casey and JoJo damn near have a verse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But didn't Wayne have that line too? He's like, I'll be singing, and
She
she
said,
said, you ain't
but you don't, Drake. But you
Gunna, bro. Gunna, he don't be talking about shit, but his voice is just so nice. Like,
Yeah.
Gunna just got a nice cadence to
sounds
his
He's very
voice.
soulful
So
trap.
I don't even know what he
singer,
was
bro.
saying, but it's just so good. I love that record. I'm
Yo,
sorry.
me personally, I don't know if Jeezy and Ross watch this anywhere, but yo,
Yeah.
Jeezy and Ross, I know enough time has passed between y'all two. Y'all two need to get into a booth and put out like 7 songs.
give us an EP.
and just give us an
Yeah.
EP,
Give us an
of
EP.
Fix.
like the fix. Like just give us 7 songs of just beautiful drug rap bars, bro. Like
You
somebody.
said no
please.
hooks.
No
No
hooks. I want no
No
hooks.
hooks. No
maybe grab CeeLo for a hook here and there.
Nah, you gotta
But,
get Roddy
like,
Rich humming too.
Get some Roddy Rich hums in there.
Roddy Rich
But
humming.
yo, Jeezy and Ross, man. Like if Jeezy and Ross got together and did something, I know Ross is working on his album right now, but like if them two put something together, bro,
Yeah, we might need that.
my God,
You with it?
I'll be all the way with it.
Cam, maybe one of the highlight of the album for me though. Cam mentioned this thing. Nas album done.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it set us up and got us excited for Nas's album at the time.
Mhm.
I think Big Sean on Thank You.
Bro, that shit was a record, bro.
Like
let me
it's
tell
Sean,
you
it's
something.
Sean time.
Yo, that
tell
shit
you
was a
something.
record, bro.
People have been trying to not put respect on Big Sean's name for a
That gotta
long
stop.
time, bro. Y'all
That
gotta
gotta
stop
stop.
with that.
That gotta
I gotta
stop.
stop with that. That boy talented,
That gotta
man.
stop,
Like,
yo.
I'm
So we
glad-
feel like this is going to be Sean's album, right? Like
Sean,
I feel like
Sean's
that's the
got
consensus.
albums.
Yeah,
no,
Sean-
he
yeah,
has albums.
He
yo,
has
like,
good
already
albums.
have
people
albums.
like
Yeah.
Dark Sky Paradise to me is like his,
So
is,
good,
is
bro.
Dark Sky
Great.
Paradise Fire.
Detroit.
One man
Great
can
album.
take it,
Like
bro.
he's
Fire.
got albums.
I think
yo.
I think we're gonna see. I think, and listen, I haven't heard anything.
Mhm.
I just sometimes you go outside, you can take the temperature, you can feel these
Mhm.
things in rap, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like I think it's set up for Sean.
Yeah.
To have an album of the year contender. I
can
haven't
see
heard
that.
anything.
I can
Like,
see that.
but it's just so wide open right now.
Yeah.
Like I think Sean could come in and own
Absolutely.
2019
It's gonna
hip-hop
either be-
if he delivers
It's
the
gonna
right
either
way.
be that classic or it's just gonna be not it.
Be just
Come
another
on.
good
We
album.
just put so much pressure on
All right, Big Sean, give us a
He got it,
classic of your
though.
trash.
He got
That's
it.
how
He
we
got
do
it.
Nah.
He got
But
it.
nah, he's been so quiet that like and that's what most rappers like when they're
Yeah.
quiet for a while
And when they start going through
and
mad
then
shit,
and they
Yeah.
go through some shit and they
Yeah.
grow up
you
a
want to
little
talk about
bit,
growth, yeah.
and they
Yeah.
unleash
Yeah.
that on the record, and you hear with Khaled and like and I don't know what Khaled does with these people in the studio,
Yeah.
but he just brings out the best out of certain motherfuckers. And like when you see,
It's on the Khaled payroll. Khaled
Yeah.
that D'usse Palooza.
Facts.
no, I'm saying like if you look.
look,
When you look through them track lists, and like it's usually Khaled featuring such and such. When it's just Khaled and person,
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, he's letting them go. On
Yeah.
this one.
yeah,
I gotta
yeah.
listen to that. Like
Yeah.
J. Cole had one of those.
J. Cole,
Nas
yeah.
had one of
Mhm.
those. Like, and right before they get on that run, he's just like, "Yo, it's just you on this."
Mhm.
Right.
go.
And I'm like, "All right, yeah, Big Sean,
Mhm.
you might be ready to take that next step."
So we looking forward to Big Sean. Right now, we're still, like I said, spinning the albums that we got this week. Igor, DJ Khaled, Father of Asahd, Megan Thee Stallion, The Fever, and shout out to Currency and Static Selector too. Those are the homies, man. We're gonna dive into that. But I appreciate y'all for coming through.
Yo,
Sir.
come Monday,
having this
bro.
conversation.
Come.
Yo, be there.
Palooza,
Yo.
man.
I'm gonna show up at D'usse Palooza.
It's around the corner.
It's right down the street from here, bro.
I'm gonna pace myself. I know a rookie D'usse Palooza mistake is
The marathon continues.
yeah.
The marathon continues.
Don't pregame.
Don't pregame.
Don't
Come
pregame,
ready.
yo. We
Come
older
ready,
now.
bro.
Okay,
Drink some
no
water,
doubt.
some
We gotta
food,
see-
you be all right.
Yo, perform too.
May 20.
Yo, hit the stand. Yo.
Y'all ain't saying nothing
Hold
about
on,
the
bro.
word. D'usse Palooza, y'all heard it here first, man. Rob Markman performance. Thank y'all for watching For the Record. We'll see you next week.
Sir.
Oh,
Yes,
man.
sir.